The journey of Rohan, from fear to faith. Rohan was a quiet and thoughtful boy who lived in a small town surrounded by green fields, calm rivers, and tall hills. He was the only child of his parents. His father worked as a mechanic, and his mother was a tailor. Their life was simple, but filled with warmth and love. From a young age, Rohan loved painting. He could spend hours staring at a sunset or watching birds fly across the sky. His hands would move naturally with colors and brushes. But he never showed his drawings to anyone because he felt they were not good enough. Whenever he saw other students praised for their work, he would compare himself and quietly lose confidence. At school, Rohan was known as the silent boy. He did his work neatly, but never raised his hand to answer questions. When art competitions were announced, he always found excuses not to join. Deep inside, he wanted to take part and be noticed, but fear stopped him every time. One evening, his art teacher, Mr. Deshmukh, announced that the school would hold an annual talent exhibition. Students were encouraged to participate and display their favorite talents. The hall would be filled with parents and guests. Everyone was excited. Rohan wanted to join, but doubt clouded his mind. What if people laughed at his work? That night, he told his mother that he wanted to participate, but was afraid. She looked at him kindly and said, "Rohan, even the brightest star must step out of the darkness to shine. You will never know your strength unless you try." Her words stayed in his mind. He opened his old sketchbook and turned its pages. They were filled with pictures of the things he loved: trees, rain, rivers, and villages at sunrise. He realized that even if his work was not perfect, it was honest. That night, he promised himself that he would participate. The next day, Rohan bought a small set of colors and a clean sheet of paper. After school, he started painting. Every evening, he mixed colors carefully, sometimes making mistakes, sometimes getting them right. His fingers were always stained with paint. His mother often watched him quietly, her eyes full of pride. After days of work, the painting was ready. It showed a sunrise over a small village with farmers walking to their fields. The picture was simple, but filled with calm and hope. The day of the exhibition arrived. The school hall was decorated beautifully. Paintings, crafts, and models filled the room. Rohan stood near the entrance, his heart pounding fast. He thought about turning back. Just then, Mr. Deshmukh came near him and said, "Remember, Rohan, this event is not just about winning. It is about showing what you love. You have already succeeded because you dared to express yourself." Encouraged by his teacher's words, Rohan stood by his painting. He watched people walk by. Some praised other students' work. Some passed his table without a glance. He felt nervous, but stayed there quietly. A few hours later, an elderly man stopped in front of his painting. He was a guest artist invited by the school. He studied the painting carefully, and then said with a smile, "This picture feels alive. I can see peace in those colors. Did you make this, young man?" Rohan nodded shyly. The man placed his hand on Rohan's shoulder and said, "Never stop painting. Your heart speaks through these colors." That moment became unforgettable for Rohan. It was the first time someone outside his family recognized his talent. When the results were announced, he did not win the first prize, but the judges gave him a special mention for creativity. His name was announced on stage, and everyone clapped. For the first time, Rohan felt proud of himself. From that day on, things began to change. He spoke more in class and joined school activities. His drawings became more confident and expressive. His teacher continued to guide him, and his parents encouraged him to dream higher. Months later, a poster appeared outside the school about a state-level painting competition in the city. Mr. Deshmukh told Rohan to participate. At first, Rohan hesitated once again, but then he remembered his mother's words and agreed. The competition day came. Rohan traveled to the city, nervous but determined. The hall was full of talented students. Their paintings looked professional. Rohan quietly took a seat in his corner. The topic announced was hope. After thinking for a while, Rohan began painting. He drew a small plant growing through a crack in a rock under sunlight. It was simple but meaningful. He worked patiently till the end. A week later, the results were announced. Rohan's name appeared among the winners. He had secured the second position. His teachers and parents were overjoyed. The local newspaper published an article about the boy who painted hope. For Rohan, that moment was magical. It told him his efforts mattered. As time went by, Rohan's confidence blossomed. He continued painting and even helped younger children at his school. People began calling him the boy who spoke through colors. Whenever anyone asked how he overcame his fear, he said, "Fear never goes away completely, but courage grows when you take your first step." Years passed. Rohan finished school and joined an art college. The college was full of talented students. Many were already skilled and confident. For a while, Rohan again felt small and unsure. But this time, he refused to give up. He reminded himself of how far he had come. Slowly, he improved his technique, and soon his teachers noticed his unique style, simple yet full of emotion. In his final year, the college announced a national art championship. The event attracted the best young artists from all over the country. Rohan's friends urged him to join. He agreed and worked tirelessly for weeks. His final painting showed a boy standing at the edge of a wide field, looking at a rising sun with hope and determination. It symbolized Rohan's own journey, from a shy child to someone who believed in his dreams. When the championship began, hundreds of visitors came to see the artworks. The judges walked around, observing each painting carefully. Rohan stood silently beside his piece, his heart beating fast. But inside, he felt peace. He no longer painted for awards. He painted to share his story. When the result was declared, Rohan's painting won first prize. The chief guest, a renowned painter, said during his speech, "This painting reminds us that true greatness begins when we stop being afraid of who we are." Tears filled Rohan's eyes. He thought of his mother, his teacher, and that old man at his first exhibition. Their words had guided him to this moment. After graduation, Rohan returned to his hometown and opened a small art studio. The room was full of paintings, brushes, and laughter. Children from nearby areas came every evening to learn painting from him. Rohan taught them not just techniques, but the value of courage and patience. One day he noticed a little boy sitting quietly in a corner, staring at a blank sheet of paper. He walked up and asked, "Why haven't you started drawing?" The boy replied shyly, "I am afraid it will look bad." Rohan smiled kindly and said, "The only bad drawing is the one you never begin. Try once." The boy picked up his brush and started drawing slowly. His lines were uneven, but his face brightened as he filled the paper with color. Rohan stood beside him, feeling a deep sense of joy. He realized that helping others overcome fear was the most beautiful reward. Years went by. Rohan became known as one of the finest artists in his region. His work was displayed in galleries and exhibitions. But he remained humble and grateful. To him, success meant more than fame. It meant inspiring others to follow their hearts. He opened an art school called The Light Within. Children from many towns joined to learn. Every year, he held an exhibition where each child, no matter how shy, got a chance to display their art. He wanted every student to feel the courage he once discovered. On his 50th birthday, his students organized a surprise celebration. The hall was decorated with colorful paintings inspired by Rohan's journey. One of the students handed him a card that read, "You taught us to turn fear into faith and dreams into colors." Rohan's eyes filled with tears as he looked around the room. He said softly, "If my story helped you believe in yourself, then my journey has meaning." That evening, after the celebration, Rohan walked to the riverbank near his old home. The sunset filled the sky with gold and orange. He picked up a small stone and threw it into the water, watching the ripples grow wider. It reminded him of how a single act of courage creates endless waves of change. Rohan's life became a message for everyone who heard it. It showed that life is not about being perfect, but about being brave enough to begin. Success is built on persistence, not applause. Every mistake teaches us. Every struggle shapes us. His story reminds us that each person carries a light within. Fear can dim it, but courage makes it shine again. The moment we decide to let that light out, we begin to transform our world. Rohan proved that courage, once awakened, becomes the most powerful color on the canvas of life. It can fill every shadow with hope, and every storm with strength. Through faith and effort, every dream, no matter how small, can blossom beautifully.